Divine transformation, the miraculous shift has been prophesied and is now manifesting in 40 days. In the village of Puddingstone, the air hummed with electric anticipation. Clara, the devoted churchwarden, felt it pulse through her veins. Word had spread like wildfire. A miraculous shift is coming, they said. 40 days of divine change. But it all felt so surreal, so otherworldly. She couldn't shake the mixture of hope and skepticism that crept into her heart like shadows at twilight. A soft rustle of leaves whispered promises across the rolling hills as the sun beckoned a new dawn. Then the strange occurrences began. Mrs. Dalton, normally bedridden with arthritis, stood outside her cottage, arms raised to the sky, a light brightening her frail form. With each word she uttered, more warmth seeped into her frail bones. As the villagers looked on in silent awe, Clara felt the coolness of doubt washing around her. Could this really be happening? Was it truly a manifestation of divine grace, or merely a coincidence? Days passed and more miracles unfolded. Neighboring houses were aglow with newfound vitality. Children, once stricken with illness, laughed freely in the meadow. Clara witnessed it with a heart split between unwavering belief and wearisome anxiety. Inside the shadows of her heart, her beloved Tom lay weak and bedridden. Each diagnosis from the doctors a precise dagger to her spirit. 40 days, she whispered, praying fervently for him. You can heal him, Lord. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Over murmured prayers and the familiar scent of pews adorned with flowers, Clara sought encouragement from Father Thomas. Believe, Clara, he urged, eyes gleaming beneath his silvered hair. Miracle is coming, just keep the faith. Yet each prayer she uttered was laced with uncertainty. Could hope truly arise from despair? As the days slipped away, Clara found solace in the collective heartbeat of her community. They gathered beneath the trees, hands clasped, voices unified, calling upon their patron saint with fervent grace. Yet, despite the healing miracles blossoming around her, she remained cloaked in doubt. One solemn evening, Clara laid her head upon the altar, tears flowing freely. The shroud of night deepened, and something shifted around her. A gentle warmth enveloped her, a light bursting through, washing over her like waves. As Clara opened her eyes, feeling the brush of divine presence, another hope ignited in her soul. Surely the storm in her heart had begun to yield. Yes, maybe the villagers were right. The transformation they longed for could be right on the cusp. Could she embrace that hope, or would doubt consume her? At the crack of dawn on the 40th day, Clara stood alone in the church, breath caught in her throat. The villagers were gathered, a sea of anxious faces staring towards the altar, where the atmosphere thrummed with expectancy. Each moment felt heavy, a tapestry of faith knit tightly, yet Clara's heart fluttered with uncertainty, like a bird trapped in a cage. Whatever might happen next, she knew she was at the brink of a staggering revelation, a moment that could alter their lives forever. As the morning light spilled through the stained glass, it painted the church in hues of red and gold, illuminating the faces of the villagers with a surreal glow. Clara stood transfixed, her heart pounding in rhythm with the prayers echoing around her. Each syllable seemed to vibrate, resonating deep within her spirit. Hope mingled with trepidation, wrapping around her like a warm blanket, but still the shadows danced at the edges of her mind. Father Thomas, standing at the forefront, raised his arms and called for silence. The murmurs faded, leaving a sacred stillness in the air, so thick one could almost taste the reverence. "Today is a special day," he began, his voice steady and melodious. "We have prayed for 40 days and nights. Our hearts have been lifted and miracles have burst forth among us." His eyes swept over the congregation, their faces lit with a mixture of expectation and uncertainty. Clara's eyes flitted to the back of the church, where her own Tom lay, unseeing and unmoving on a makeshift bed, supported by pillows and love. The painful contrast struck her like a fierce gust of wind. She wanted to believe that the miracle could reach him, but doubt loomed like a storm on the horizon. "How can I dream of healing when my heart is so heavy?" she thought, a shiver of despair tugging at her resolve. At that moment, Mrs. Dalton, who had been restored in those miraculous days, stepped forward. "I have felt his touch," she declared, her voice resonating with conviction. "He is in our midst. His light has returned to my life, and I am no longer bound by pain." The villagers murmured, some nodding in agreement, while others exchanged glances laden with disbelief. Clara's heart sank and lifted at the same time. She wanted so desperately to believe in the stories of transformation, yet her own journey felt cluttered with heartache and longing. She raised her eyes from the altar and caught Father Thomas's gaze across the room. The unspoken bond of understanding passed between them, as if he could read the turmoil that churned within her. Just then, an unusual hush fell over the church. A soft breeze swept through, carrying with it a whisper of something divine. Clara inhaled sharply, the familiar scent of earth and renewal filling her lungs. Suddenly, she felt as if time had stopped. A gentle voice seemed to echo in her heart, reverberating with an unshakable truth. "Trust me." As she stood still, engulfed in that sacred moment, her knees buckled, and she found herself seeking the cool, worn stones of the altar as she sunk to the ground in humble surrender. Tears streamed down her cheeks, each drop carrying years of anxiety, fear, and doubt. In those moments of vulnerability, she began to sense a lightness, a softening of the burdens she had carried for so long. The villagers watched in silence, many moved to tears themselves, witnessing Clara, their unwavering leader, break open in a moment of raw honesty. The collective faith began to shift, like the first tremors of a great earthquake deep beneath the soil. It stirred something powerful, awakening a tidal wave of hope within them all. Father Thomas, sensing the mounting presence of something extraordinary, continued to lead them in prayer. "Let us now bring forth those who need healing, bring forth our loved ones." The call was clear, a challenge to the emerging truth they all sensed. Clara felt the rush of courage, and she lifted her head, gasping for breath, her heart racing with newfound determination. As they gathered to pray for the sick, whispers of faith rose like smoke toward the heavens. Clara's heart thudded in anticipation. What if these prayers reached beyond the earthly realm? What if they were the spark needed for miracles to unfold, not just in the village, but in the depths of her own soul? And as the last amen escaped the lips of the faithful, Clara took a deep breath and whispered into the silence, "Lord, what is your plan? What miracle do you have for us?" The answer loomed, shrouded in mystery, teetering on the edge of divine revelation. What came next would challenge the very foundation of her faith and reveal secrets she never dreamed could lie hidden within the turn of events. The air in the church felt charged, heavy with anticipation and an unexplainable energy. Clara remained on her knees, her heart racing at the prospect of what might unfold. She felt as though the very walls of the building held their breath, waiting to witness the miracles that had recently begun to spring forth among them. Father Thomas raised his arms again, his voice weaving through the congregation like a sacred thread. "Let us call upon the names of those in need. Let our faith rise like incense before the throne of grace." He closed his eyes, and the villagers followed suit, a hum of shared hope filling the space. Clara joined them, her focus shifting inward. "Tom, my Tom, heal him," she whispered fervently, the words escaping her lips like a prayer. Each utterance felt heavier than the last, every name another weight on her heart. But amid the sorrow, she felt a stirring of something else, something like pure faith, rising from deep within her. Suddenly, a voice interrupted the sacred focus, cutting through the prayer like a bolt of lightning. It was young Samuel, his eyes wide, his innocence spilling forth. What if God wants us to do something? What if He needs us to believe more? His words hung in the air, inviting murmurs of agreement and wonder. Clara turned her gaze toward him, astonished by the child's clarity. In that moment, the simplicity of his faith shattered the fog of her doubt. Could it be that belief could ignite flames in those souls waiting for healing? It struck her. Miracles weren't just about the destination, they were about the journey of faith. As the villagers continued to call out names, Clara rose slowly, heart pounding with purpose. "Yes, we must have faith," she proclaimed, her voice growing stronger as it echoed with the fervor of her belief. "Faith is the key. Let us believe for healing, for restoration, for the impossible. God is among us." The church erupted with renewed vigor. Hands rose high, voices joined with fervent prayers. Each plea was a declaration of faith, rising as one mighty chorus toward the heavens. Clara closed her eyes again, feeling an unseen current running through the group, binding them in shared hope. Father Thomas nodded appreciatively, a knowing smile crossing his lips as he witnessed the transformation taking place. As we gather in unity, we invoke His name, and He will respond. Time felt as if it had folded around them, each moment stretching into an eternity filled with divine potential. Clara's heart swelled with possibility. It was as if the air crackled with a sacred pulse. The scent of renewal enveloped her, a gentle reminder that even the smallest spark can set forth a great fire. And then something happened. A light flickered at the far end of the church, shimmering and undulating like the waves of the sea. The congregation froze, eyes widening as the illumination grew brighter, a warmth enveloping them. It was not just light, it was life. A gasp echoed through the crowd, a collective intake of breath. Clara's heart thrummed wildly. She felt the very essence of belief thrum through her veins. The realization struck her. Miracles were not merely moments of healing, they were transformations. Each call lifted their spirits, each prayer a step closer to the divine. As the radiant light pulsed, Clara turned to look at Tom, her Tom, lying there, unaware yet, lying just beyond the veil of possibility. She could feel the yearning for him to rise, to embrace the life God had planted in his heart long before. The radiance intensified, gathering near Tom's bedside. All eyes turned toward him as an unusual silence settled. Clara's breath caught in her throat. She prayed with every ounce of her soul. "Lord, do not let our faith go in vain. We believe, we trust, we are ready for your miracle." With that declaration, the church, laden with faith, held on to the mystery that lay ahead. What would happen next in the light of their collective belief? Would they witness the miraculous or the challenge of unwavering trust? A trembling was felt by all as they held steadfast to faith, standing at the precipice of divine intervention. Clara stayed locked in that moment, breathless and expectant. The light washed over Tom, a golden sheen that seemed to pulse in harmony with the rhythm of their prayers. Every heartbeat echoed with belief, coursing through the congregation like a river of hope. Clara remembered the stories she had grown up with, fables of sudden healings, of lives transformed in the blink of an eye. And now, here stood the tangible evidence of such miracles. She felt it, an electric current dancing in the air, intertwining their souls. "Can you feel it?" whispered Miriam, her voice barely above a breath. Clara nodded, unable to find words. They were all drawn into a sacred orbit, circling around Tom's fragile form, which lay still as the light began to converge, embracing him. "Do you trust him?" Samuel's innocent question sliced through the sacred atmosphere, reverberating with a challenge that jolted Clara back into focus. "Yes, we must," Clara replied, the truth of it igniting a fire in her chest. "Remember the story of Jairus. He believed without seeing." Her eyes sparkled with untamed enthusiasm, and she felt others starting to share in her fervor. "Just like he was told not to fear, neither should we. Our faith can make a way." Each word seemed to feed the light, urging it to swell and grow. The villagers raised their hands high, palms face up, as if receiving something precious from above. Clara glanced around. Faces once marred with worry now glowed with a renewed sense of purpose. "God is here. Let the very foundations of this church tremble with our belief." Father Thomas's voice rang out, stirring the souls gathered there. As if summoned by the warmth of their faith, the light shimmered and twisted before breaking open, shooting forth a brilliant column toward Tom. Clara gasped. She felt flooded with a sense of divinity, the power of 1,000 prayers filling the air. This wasn't just a light, it was a living presence, a resurrection of hope. It was like a hand reaching down, gentle yet firm, promising that nothing was lost, that every tear, every sigh was held lovingly in God's embrace. With an urgency she couldn't control, Clara moved toward Tom, unable to resist the pull any longer. She knelt beside him, her trembling hands resting on his cool forehead. "Tom, please," she breathed, longing and faith interwoven in her plea. Father Thomas stepped closer, the atmosphere thickening with an unshakable resolve. "Let us come together. Hold fast to your faith, dear friends." The congregation formed a circle around Clara and Tom, their voices rising to a fervent crescendo, harmonizing with Clara's heart. "We believe, echoed through the sacred space. A collective mantra of faith. Suddenly, as the unwavering chorus reached its peak, Tom stirred. His fingers twitched slightly, and Clara froze, holding her breath. Light flickered around him, and gasps erupted from the gathered souls. Hope spilled over like water, drenching them all in expectation. With one grand moment, Tom's eyes opened, glistening, luminous with the light that had enveloped him. Clara's heart soared. This was not just a miracle, it was a testament to their faith. Yet, even as joy flooded Clara's heart and the church erupted into praise, a new fear began to shadow her mind. What awaited Tom upon this awakening? What journey lay ahead for them both now? The congregation rejoiced, but Clara felt an unexpected weight settling. In the midst of celebration, the question hung in the air. Would they be ready for the transformation that came with this new life? With Tom awakening, a new chapter loomed ahead, filled with unpredictable paths. What challenges would they face next? How would their faith be tested in the days to come? The unity of their belief had opened a door, but what lay beyond it? The answers awaited them. Clara's heart raced as she looked into Tom's eyes, which seemed to reflect one of the heavenly lights that had surrounded him. It was more than joy. It was a realization that something profound had changed, not just in him, but in everyone present. Faces gleamed, with tears of gratitude marking this moment as sacred. "Tom, can you hear me?" Clara whispered, the connection between them electric. He blinked, slowly grasping the reality around him. "Clara?" His voice was faint, yet painted with a dawning recognition. "Yes, you're back!" She squeezed his hand tightly, fueling her belief, repulsing the shadows of doubt that hovered beyond the joy. The congregation erupted in a chorus of praises, voices dancing like flames igniting one another. "Thank you, Lord, thank you!" Their collective gratitude rose like incense, filling the church with a tangible fragrance of faith. It swirled in Clara's chest, penetrating the earlier feelings of uncertainty. Father Thomas stepped forward, the spirit in him radiant. "Tom, you have been given a second chance. A new life awaits you." In that moment, Clara felt a pull, one that drew her towards something greater, a divine purpose that she could hardly comprehend. What now? It was a thought not just for herself, but echoed in the minds of many gathered there, a question flung toward the heavens. Miriam clasped her hands together, her eyes glistening. God's plans are often beyond what we can see. Can we trust that He will guide us? Tom inhaled deeply, pushing himself upright with assistance. The energy radiating from the gathered souls enveloped him, a warmth that spoke of new beginnings. "I feel different," he murmured, blinking as if coming into clearer focus. "What does this mean?" Clara exchanged glances with her friends. She felt their collective heartbeat thrumming in tandem with the pulse of faith that had filled the room.
"It means we walk this journey together, and whatever comes," her words trailed off, unsettled, yet poised with newfound strength, "we will face it united." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Each individual swelled with thoughts swirling about transformation and purpose, uncertain, yet stirred. It was as if all present felt the tide shifting, the call to witness not just Tom's revival, but a beckoning for all of them to enter a season of change. "Consider this," Father Thomas continued, his voice ringing with authority. "You stand on the borders of a new era. God has not only revived Tom, but He is stirring something within our hearts, too. What lessons, what purposes will unfold in the coming days? Will you walk in faith, embracing the adventure that is upon us?" Every heart beat a little faster, an invisible thread weaving them tighter together. They were on the brink of something magnificent, yet Clara hesitated. A flicker of concern shadowed her thoughts. What challenges lay down that path? She recalled each trial they had faced in life and the lessons learned, even amidst despair. "Let us join hands," Father Thomas said, breaking her reverie. The congregation linked one another in a chain, a sacred circle of trust and unity. As they prayed, Clara felt a thrill of unity ripple through. Perhaps within their clasped hands there were answers waiting to be revealed. Suddenly, the light swelled again, illuminating their faces like the morning sun breaking the darkness. "Tomorrow shall bring forth the first steps of our journey," Clara implored, emboldened. "We must be ready, and we must believe." While hope surged through her, Clara couldn't shake the enormity of what was yet to come. Would they indeed be ready? Would they remain steadfast in the face of challenges unforeseen? The question stirred a divine urgency. As the prayer concluded, she felt the faintest sense of dread lacing through her heart, whispering of trials that would soon confront them. With hearts still afire and fingers intertwined, they opened the door to their new path. Before them lay the possibilities of tomorrow, a delicate fabric of faith and fears, tests and testimonies, each thread shimmering between heaven and earth. Each member could sense it, the anticipation of change lingering in the air like the humidity before a storm. What transformation awaited them, and how would they navigate life's unpredictable winds together? As Clara stepped into a new dawn, shadows of what lay ahead flickered at the edges of her awareness. The journey was just beginning, and God had promised more than they could fathom. What stories of faith and trials awaited them across the horizon? The answers hung in the space between them. The morning light poured through the stained glass windows, casting a kaleidoscope of colors upon the congregation as they gathered again, hearts fluttering with expectant hope. Clara felt a fresh spark of enthusiasm lift her spirit, yet a gentle reminder of the uncertainties ahead lingered. Each face was a canvas of, "Today is not just another day," Father Thomas proclaimed, standing confidently at the pulpit. The soft timbre of his voice resonated through the sacred space, drawing everyone's attention. Today marks the beginning of our journey into the profound mysteries of faith. His words sank deep into Clara's heart, igniting a flame of purpose. She glanced around, watching the reactions of those assembled. Faces glowed with anticipation, the air tinged with an electric hum, as if heaven was holding its breath for what would come next. "Let us begin with a moment of silence," Father Thomas urged. The church fell into a reverent hush, the kind that makes you feel as if time itself has stilled. Clara closed her eyes, focusing her thoughts on the divine promise ahead and surrendering her fears to the Lord. And there it was, a whisper of clarity that filled the space between her thoughts. "Trust in me," it seemed to say, wrapping her in warmth. She opened her eyes, emboldened by that sacred assurance. When they resumed, the air buzzed with energy. Clara felt a ripple of excitement coursing through the crowd. "Let's discover what it means to truly walk in faith," Father Thomas continued, his voice lifting as he spoke of the miracles they would witness in the coming days. "This journey isn't merely for Tom, it is for us all. As we step into the unknown, we will find new strength, new insights, and new family bonds." Miriam stepped forward, her eyes glimmering with purpose. "We will connect beyond ourselves. The trials we face are not just punishment, but nourishment for our souls. We need to embrace our fears and doubts, allowing them to shape us into something beautiful. Like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly," Clara exclaimed. The words surged from her lips as if pulled by a familiar thread of inspiration. The idea echoed in the hearts around her, and she could see recognition dawning in faces all around. Yes, they were being called to emerge anew. Father Thomas nodded, excitement radiating as he seized upon Clara's analogy. "Precisely. Transformation requires a shedding of old skin, a leap of faith into the unknown. Will we trust God to lead us through this change?" A wave of murmured affirmation swept through the crowd, an amen here and there acknowledging the growing faith. Tom stood at the front, his healed form radiating the life of one reborn. "We must remember that each trial will come with sweetness. As God reveals His purpose, we shall be refined like gold in the fire." As the words settled among them, Clara felt a swift pulse of unity wash over the congregation. They were together, ready to step boldly into an adventure that neither had experienced before, each thread of their faith weaving a grand tapestry of hope. "I want us to commit to this together," Clara proposed, her voice ringing clear. "Let's make a covenant. We'll face every challenge side by side. We will pray for guidance, support one another, and celebrate every small victory." One by one, hands began to raise in support, creating ripples of agreement that flowed through the church. "We will stand united in prayer. We will hold each other up in our doubts. We will rejoice in our victories together." Father Thomas smiled, pride swelling in his eyes. "As you've declared, let this be our heart. Yet be warned, where light shines, shadows linger. We must remain vigilant." And just as the words left his lips, a cold breeze swept through the open doors of the church. Clara shivered, feeling an unsettling tension slip into the warmth of their gathering. What unforeseen tests lay ahead, waiting just beyond the horizon? Anxiety nipped at the edges of her joy, whispering doubt into her ear. It silently prodded her to question if they were truly ready for what awaited them. As the congregation began to disperse, the air thick with the anticipation of change, Clara inhaled deeply, letting the moment linger. They would find courage in prayer and strength in unity. But the mystery remained. Would faith be enough to guide them through the shadows that loomed? Determined, she looked to the future, a kaleidoscope blending colors of hope and hesitation. They were poised for something greater. Tomorrow would unveil a glimpse of God's hand reaching into their lives, and Clara couldn't help but wonder, was this just the beginning of a greater awakening? Clara awoke the next morning to a soft, golden dawn creeping through her window. It felt like the world outside whispered promises of what was to come. She had never been one to rise with the sun, but today was different. A sense of urgency pulled her from her dreams, and with each step she took, her heart thrummed with the excitement of the unknown. As Clara prepared for the day, she couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was about to unfold. She joined her fellow congregants at the church as they gathered for the morning prayer, the energy palpable. The atmosphere crackled with a mix of anticipation and reverence. It was as if the entire church had transformed into a sacred vessel, ready to receive divine grace. Father Thomas stood at the pulpit once again, and this time his presence felt more profound. "We embark on this sacred journey," he began, but then paused, looking deeply into each pair of eyes, gauging the heartbeats of his flock. Are we truly ready to embrace the profound mysteries that await us? A collective breath hung in the air. Clara glanced at the faces around her, familiar friends who were now united by a single purpose. In that moment, doubts seemed to tremble like leaves in the wind. They were ready, even if they didn't fully understand what they were stepping into. "Today, we begin a 40-day quest," Father Thomas announced, his voice resonating like a drum. "A quest for transformation. A quest to open our hearts in faith. In these days ahead, we will seek out the miracles God has prepared for us." 40 days, Clara whispered, feeling a rush of excitement as the weight of those words settled upon her. She thought of how the number 40 represented preparation and a crossing over, a journey through the wilderness. Every story in the Bible echoed this theme. Her heart raced. God had chosen them for something grand. "During this time, we will pray, reflect, and share our hearts with one another," he continued. "But we must also prepare. Trials may come, shadows may linger, but with every challenge lies the seed of new beginnings. Let us hold fast to faith and each other." Just then, a cloud swept past the sun, casting a fleeting shadow across the congregation. Clara felt a shiver, but it wasn't just the cold. There was an urgency, a warning tucked within her heart that reminded her to remain steadfast. "Will we stand together, lifting each other in faith?" she shouted, her voice ringing triumphantly through the air. "Yes!" came the chorus of voices, the words surging like a tidal wave. "We will!" Their commitment filled the room, and Clara felt warmth blooming within her. Unity swelled among them like a living, breathing entity, an embodiment of shared desires and dreams. As they closed in prayer, Clara closed her eyes. Pictures of the coming days flickered like the stained glass above her. She pictured moments of doubt transformed into hope, sadness turning into laughter, and shadows yielding to light. What would happen in these 40 days? Could she lean into her fears instead of running from them? The prayers lifted upward, mingling with the sweet scent of incense. The congregation chanted, "Let it be done," a collective declaration that felt like an unbreakable bond. However, just as the last amen echoed, a tremor rippled through Clara's spirit. The shadows whispered again, creeping back into her mind. What challenges would come? Would they have the strength to endure? And how could they possibly prepare for the divine tests ahead?
The mystery of the 40 days hung over her, both thrilling and daunting. Clara opened her eyes, searching the faces of her community, and felt a pulling of hope intertwining with apprehension. Tomorrow would beckon them to dive deeper into their journey. But were they ready to embrace not just the divine transformations, but also the shadows that may threaten to entwine around them? Clara wondered what God might reveal when they took a step toward the unknown. Would they find strength in their unity to illuminate the darkness lurking ahead? The sun rose higher, casting warm rays that illuminated the church's entrance. Clara felt charged with a sweet anticipation as she arrived for the first day of their transformative journey. It was one thing to gather in faith. It was another to step boldly into the unknown that stretched ahead. The air was filled with chatter and laughter.
Yet Clara sensed an undercurrent of seriousness, a shared determination among the congregants. Father Thomas welcomed everyone with a smile, his eyes twinkling as if he carried an unseen promise. "During these 40 days," he began, "we will explore the depths of our faith together. Today, we focus on surrender, letting go of our burdens and insecurities. When we give our worries to God, we make space for His wonders." As Clara listened, she felt her heart quicken. Surrendering her fears was daunting. She thought of the shadows that whispered in her mind, the doubts that clawed at her spirit. But she knew she wasn't alone in this. The weight of the community surrounded her, a comforting shield against the unseen forces that often sought to stifle hope. The service unfolded with songs of praise. Harmonies rose, enveloping the room in a blanket of worship. Clara joined her voice with the others, a chorus that reached far beyond the walls of the church and into the very heavens. Each note felt like a prayer, an offering of faith that floated upward, unburdening her soul. As the music faded, Father Thomas invited them to open their hearts in prayer. "Let us bring our fears before God, speak them, release them." With closed eyes, Clara breathed deeply and began to articulate her struggles. "Lord, I surrender my fear of failure. I lay down my uncertainty and doubt." Her voice mingled with whispered prayers around her, a tapestry of vulnerability. Suddenly, the room seemed to shimmer. Clara felt a tingling warmth radiating from the altar, a divine touch that washed over her. It wasn't just in her mind. She sensed a collective awakening. Tears brimmed in her eyes as the atmosphere thickened with grace. Each prayer released not just weight, but also a surging hope that their hearts could grasp transformation. After the prayer, Father Thomas spoke again, his voice steady and deep. "Surrender isn't the end, it is the beginning of new life. We must remember that every seed must die before new growth can emerge." He looked into the faces before him, and Clara felt he was speaking directly to her. The congregation began to share their burdens openly. One by one, confessions spilled out like water from a cracked vessel. Among his words, a young man shared his struggle with addiction, his voice trembling but resolute. A woman voiced her fear of loneliness, longing for connection. Clara listened, her heart swelling as they created a safe space for one another. In each testimony, Clara spotted reflections of herself. They were walking similar paths, perhaps with different shoes, but all carrying the same heavy weight of doubt. Bonds formed, allowing her to see the beauty in their shared humanity. As the gathering drew to a close, Clara felt lighter. Hope wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Perhaps surrender was not a sign of weakness, but a sign of deep faith, the kind that could lead to miraculous transformations. But lingering at the edge of her thoughts were the shadows that still whispered, the questions that remained unanswered. What hidden depths still awaited in the unfolding days ahead? Could she really release everything, her fears, past pains, and control? As she stepped out of the church, the sun was shining brightly, casting away lingering wisps of doubt. Clara looked to the horizon, feeling the excitement rising once more. Would she truly walk through the challenges ahead with a lighter heart? What awaited her in this divine quest? Would she find clarity surrounded by the community that had become her family?
Tomorrow would be the beginning of deeper revelations. But what God had not yet revealed could change everything. The next day dawned with a golden hue, the sun climbing eagerly into the sky, as if heralding newfound hope. Clara awoke with a lightness in her heart, energized by the promises of yesterday. She felt a renewed sense of purpose as she prepared for the day, a day rich with possibilities. As she stepped into the church once more, the ambiance was noticeably different. Excitement crackled in the air like static electricity, charged with the stories of yesterday's revelations. Clara felt as if the very walls resonated with faith, waiting to witness what was to come. Father Thomas stood at the front, his demeanor a mix of serenity and fervor. Today, he announced, we dive into the theme of revelation, seeing the unseen, uncovering what God whispers in our hearts. His words hung in the air like an invitation, and Clara's breath caught at the thought. As the service began, Clara felt a familiar warmth envelop her, a divine presence that gently urged her to listen deeper. They sang praises, harmonies soaring higher than before, as if inviting the heavens to draw nearer. Clara closed her eyes, letting the music wash over her, filling every crack of doubt that had once occupied her spirit. How beautiful it felt to share this communion, voices blending in a tapestry woven with love. After the music faded, Father Thomas invited them to a moment of silence. In this stillness, allow God to speak into your heart. Open your eyes to the invisible places He might reveal. Clara inhaled deeply, her soul yearning for clarity. She felt a gentle nudge, a whisper urging her to move beyond her fears. Hers was a heart that longed for revelation. All around her, eyes sparkled with wonder. She could sense the congregation's excitement bubbling, a collective anticipation building like a gentle swell before the wave. Finally, one by one, people began to share their experiences. A young mother shared a vision of her future, an unexpected calling that startled her yet filled her with hope. An elderly man spoke of dreams restored, dreams once abandoned that now flickered back to life. Clara listened, enthralled. Each story was a brushstroke creating a masterpiece of faith. She recognized something powerful amidst the testimonies. God was at work, revealing His love in unexpected ways. Could this be the transformation they had all been seeking? As her turn approached, Clara's heart raced. She hesitated, feeling the weight of her own struggles rise within her. What if she didn't have a story worthy of sharing? Yet she realized this was not about performance, but openness. She took a deep breath and began. I've always been afraid of stepping out, afraid of failing. Her voice trembled slightly, but steadied as she continued. But I'm learning that surrender might just unleash a new vision I never knew was waiting. A hush fell over the room, but she sensed encouragement radiating from her fellow congregants. She felt the release, the collective sigh of understanding that echoed back to her, as if, together, they were lifting burdens anew. As the sharing time came to a close, Clara knew she had taken a bold step. Father Thomas then reflected on their stories, affirming, "Revelation often reveals not only what we seek, but also what we're truly made of. Every hidden warrior within us is waiting to rise." Clara's heart pounded with clarity. She understood that revelation required obedience, a willingness to move forward even when the path felt uncertain. As they closed in prayer, the room vibrated with shared hopes, a tangible manifestation of faith binding them together. Clara felt lighter still, as though she had shed layers of doubt with every shared moment. Outside, the sun was ablaze, reflecting the promise of what lay ahead. Clara gazed at the horizon, anticipation bubbling within her. This was just the beginning of their journey. What would the next day unveil? With hearts unfurling, they were on the precipice of transformation. And Clara wondered, could the divine shift they had sought truly be on the brink of manifestation? As the sun cast golden rays across Puddingstone, Clara woke with a heart full of anticipation. Today was the culmination of their 40-day quest, a divine advent woven through moments of prayer, revelation, and surrender. The shadows that once whispered doubt felt subdued under the weight of collective faith blossoming among her community. Clara stepped outside, the fragrant air vibrant with promise. At the church, the atmosphere buzzed with a sense of mission. Father Thomas stood at the front, his presence filled with serene authority. "Today is the day," he declared, the power of his words filling the space. "A day where we celebrate the transformations that have taken root among us." Clara glanced around at familiar faces, each etched with hope and longing. Tom, now standing strong in faith, looked more alive than ever, radiating the essence of resurrection. Clara's heart swelled. She was reminded of the dark nights when despair loomed heavy. And now, here they were, together in faith. "Today, we will declare our testimonies," Father Thomas continued, "not just to honor what God has done, but to proclaim the faith that brought us here." One by one, the villagers stood to share their stories, miracles of healing, bursts of clarity, and newfound joy that echoed in their hearts. As Clara listened, tears of joy glazed her eyes. Each testimony vibrated with proof of God's goodness. But Clara's heart beat a little faster. She wished to share as well. Taking a deep breath, she felt the warmth of the light surrounding her. "I came here with doubts and fears," she began, voice steady but filled with emotion. "But through this journey, I've learned that faith isn't the absence of doubt. It's the choice to believe despite it." The congregation leaned closer, mirroring her earnestness. "I was lost in shadows, clutching memories of pain and uncertainty. But in surrendering those fears, I found something unexpected, a rekindled strength and purpose. Together, we've faced storms, and together we have emerged." A swell of murmurs rose in agreement, connection buzzing through the air like electricity. Clara's heart ignited. She felt every soul woven together in the divine tapestry of love. As the praises rose, Father Thomas gestured toward the altar. "As we conclude this chapter, we must remember, every transformation is just the beginning. God has more in store for us." An energy rippled through the church, tangible and divine. Clara believed it. Their faith had shifted mountains. But beyond the exhilaration lay a question lingering. What awaited them now? Had they truly prepared their hearts for deeper levels of belief? High in the church rafters, sunlight streamed through the stained glass, cascading colors down in heavenly tones. Clara closed her eyes, feeling the warmth on her skin. "Guide us, Lord," she whispered, clinging to the promise of tomorrow and hoping for the comfort of divine direction. Father Thomas returned to the pulpit, his voice carrying the weight of spiritual authority. "Today, let's not entwine ourselves in the past, but embrace the future God has called us into. We will continue to gather, to pray, to rise together." A loud amen erupted from the congregation, vocal as the fiery spirit enveloped them. Clara felt life pulsating vibrantly through the gathered community. They had witnessed miracles. They were witnesses to one another's burdens and triumphs. Then, as the closing hymn echoed around them, something extraordinary happened. The light in the church flickered, a divine presence entwining them in a sacred embrace. Clara felt ignited, as if the air hummed around each heart. The intensity of joy radiated, the miracle of unity, of love amidst trials. "Look!" a child cried, pointing toward the light that seemed to swirl toward the altar. Gasps erupted, and all heads turned in awe. Clara stepped forward, feeling a connection deepen. Hope surged as she clutched Tom's arm.
They were all part of something greater, living testimonies, discovering purpose in faith and community. The light pulsed as the final notes of the hymn lingered, and Clara recalled the path ahead. "Lord, we are ready," she declared, heart alight with unwavering belief. The congregation responded, a tidal wave of affirmations and amens flooding the room. They had journeyed together through doubts and fears, learned to trust despite the shadows, and forged unbreakable bonds. As we stand together now, let
this moment serve as a reminder. Divine transformation was only the beginning. Tomorrow awaits, filled with wondrous possibilities. And the most beautiful part? They and we are all invited to embrace them with open hearts. Let us depart united in spirit, looking forward with courage. And remember, dear friends, the journey is never complete. Spread the word of the miraculous power of collective faith and share how it has shifted not just lives but destinies. Now you need to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It truly makes a difference in reaching those who are seeking. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this miraculous ending. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true servants of God understand how crucial it is to unearth this divine message. Let's light the way together.